Hello and welcome to my first ever tarot YouTube video. Before I begin, I just want to give a couple disclaimers. The first one being that tarot is not an absolute thing. So if you're unfamiliar with tarot, it does not work like I pick out a bunch of cards and go, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's not like that at all. No outcome is fixed. You ultimately have free will and you have the power to change the trajectory of your life. It is much more like looking into a mirror of the psyche where you can see what themes are at play in your life and what energies you are dealing with and possibly see how best to deal with them. It's also kind of like you can look into the cards and see like, well, if I keep taking these kinds of actions and thinking these kinds of thoughts, what's the most likely outcome? And if I want a different outcome, what should I do about that, basically? The second thing is that no card is entirely positive or negative. There will never be a moment where I'll pick up a card and be like, oh, you got the bad card, bad things are going to happen. It doesn't work like that. It all depends on the context, and there is always a silver lining. And the last thing I want to say before I begin is that the death card does not mean that you are going to die, nor does it mean that anyone around you is going to die. It is much more symbolic of change, basically. And sorry. It's much more symbolic of change, and although change can be scary, it is necessary for growth, and it is also unavoidable, a bit like death. And funnily enough, the spread today begins with the death card, though it is in reverse. So it's in the position which represents you at this current moment in your life, and this is death in reverse. So upright, death is all about coming to the end of a cycle and basically closing off that cycle and changing and breaking out of stagnation and moving on with your life, essentially. But this is death in reverse. So here what it really speaks to is this idea of a reluctance to change, but also a fear of change. But change needs to happen. With the fact that there are certain other cards here that are combined with this, it brings up a very specific idea. So when I saw this card combined with the fact that we also have the Hermit, the Ten of Cups in reverse, and the Three of Cups in reverse, but you know, also the Hanged Man and the Four of Cups, there really is this idea of almost like there's an idea of outgrowing certain relationships or certain relationships coming to an end in your life. I'm speaking, I think, more about friendships than romantic relationships. There could be a romantic relationship involved, but really what I'm getting from the combination of death, the Hermit, the Ten of Cups in reverse, the Hanged Man, the Three of Cups in reverse, is this idea of almost like you're looking around at all your friends and you feel like left behind because you feel almost like you're looking at everyone else getting on with their lives and moving on to new things. Like maybe some of your friends are going to get married soon, or they've just gotten married. Maybe some of them are moving to a new country, gotten a promotion. It feels like everything's happening and everything's changing for the better for everyone else, and yet you feel like you are stuck in the same place that you've been stuck in for the last 5 to 6 years. And I would just like to say, as like a side thing, this reading will reach whoever it's meant to reach. If you feel like it resonates, stay, or don't. It's up to you. If you feel like it doesn't resonate, you don't have to stay. But if this is you, if you do feel like you've been stuck in the same kind of position for the last couple of years, like everyone else is just moving on with their lives and you're not, ultimately I think what this reading is trying to tell you is that change comes from you. The change needs to happen. Yes, your life does need to change, but it is up to you. You need to be that change that you wish to see in your life. And it's like in the sense that, say for example, if you've been thinking for a long time about like starting a business, you can do that, but you do actually have to, I don't know, build the website, go out and network. If you want to do something, you have to do it, basically. If you want your life to change, you have to change the actions you take, you know, like if you want to start a business and at the moment all you do is like go to work and then go out to like the pub or something and get really drunk instead of like working on your business or anything, you're gonna have to change those habits. The same thing if, I don't know, if you like procrastinate all the time instead of starting the business, starting the creative project, starting the YouTube channel, whatever. Find out why you're procrastinating. Maybe you are afraid of failing. Maybe you are afraid of being seen by people you know in your real life. Maybe you're afraid of being judged. Whatever it is, find the root of why you're procrastinating and deal with it. You have the power to change your life, but in order to change your life, you actually have to change. If you want things to change, you do have to change. And sometimes that means that you can no longer get up at midday, that you've got to get up at a reasonable time and go to bed at a reasonable time so that there's enough hours in the day for you to do everything. Sometimes it might mean not going out and getting super drunk, but instead being like, actually, I'm going to stay sober. Sometimes it means finally moving to that country you've been moving to. You know, sometimes it means finally applying for that course, that job that you're scared they'll reject you from. You just have to do it. The only way to face the fear, to face the rejection, is to go through it. But yeah, the other thing is also, like I mentioned, there's this idea of isolation and loneliness as well. So we have the Hermit card in here, obviously. Now here's the thing, right? It's two things. So on the one hand, yes, so it's sideways, so I can't actually tell whether it's come up upright or in reverse. As it always does in this position, it's always sideways, what challenges you. So on the one hand, the Hermit is like loneliness and isolation, and that might be what you're struggling with at the moment. But on the other, the Hermit is all about learning to trust yourself and follow your inner guidance. And I think that's where a lot of the crux of this reading is. It's like maybe you feel left behind by your friends because you feel like they're all moving on to the things that you're supposed to be doing at your age, but you've got to realize that your path is not everybody else's path. You don't have to do things, like everyone is different and everybody's life works out differently, and you don't have to like go to uni and then get the stable job and get married and settle down by like 35 or something. Your life might be completely different. You might be someone who didn't go to uni when they were like 17 and instead decided to go back at like 28. You know, you might have had kids really young and then later on decided to go back to education. It might be that, you know, you don't want a stable job. You're fine with working lots of small jobs. Everyone is different and everybody else's life is different, and the Hermit card is really, it's about following your inner light, your inner guidance. This sort of idea of don't take advice from someone whose life you wouldn't want to be living. Learn to trust yourself. What do you think is best for your life? Stop worrying about what other people will think, or what, you know. Sometimes other people give us advice, and I realize right now I'm, I guess, technically giving advice, and I would like to say, you do not have to listen to my advice. You do not have to listen to this video. You know, trust your gut, trust your instinct. You are the one who ultimately knows what's best for you. That's the Hermit. It is, so with Death and the Hermit, really what we've got is, you need, if you want your life to change, you need to change. You need to make that change. You want to be healthy, I guess, like, well then, if for example you wanted to be healthy and at the moment you eat a lot of takeaway and a lot of junk food, well then the change you would have to make is to stop eating the takeaways and stop eating the junk food, and maybe learn how to cook, even if it's something small like just frying an egg or making a salad. And that's the other thing, is like, a small change does mean something. Again, with the Hermit, this is a very sort of still card. There's not much movement. Trust the process. Small steps somewhere are better than no steps nowhere. As in, like, you might have to start small and that's fine, but as long as you start, things will work out. And then on the other hand of this, we've got the Magician and the Hanged Man. And in the positions of what's on your conscious mind and what's on your subconscious. And I feel like what's going on here is that you have a talent, a gift, an ability, a skill. There is something you are very, very good at, and probably people have actually told you that you're good at this, which is why on your conscious mind as the Magician, you are actually already kind of considering, okay, you know, and it could be anything from, it could be that maybe you're like really, really, really good at like putting in fake eyelashes. I know that's like a really weirdly specific example. Maybe you're really good at that, and your friends have been like, oh, you know, why don't you like do my lashes and I'll pay you, and like, you know, that's an avenue. And maybe you enjoy it as well, or maybe you're really, really good at drawing, or maybe you're really good at cooking, or just maybe your brain is really good with numbers, or you're really good at organizing things. You have a talent that you are ignoring. You need to recognize that talent, stop doubting it, because almost definitely it's like you have an ability and your friends have said, oh, you know, you're like really good at this thing, like maybe you should try, like for example, I guess if you were really good at doing fake lashes, oh, maybe you should try being like a lash tech, and like, you know, you could get paid for that, you could do it on the side and earn some extra money. Or like they say, oh, you know, you're really good at like painting, have you ever thought about selling some of your paintings? You know, why don't you make a website and put them up on there? There is something you are good at, and there's a part of you that knows that you're good at it, and there's another part that's doubting it. Stop doubting. Stop doubting, because you are good at it. You have this ability. And it could even be also with like the Hanged Man in the subconscious, that it's something somewhat unusual. It could even just be that you see the world from a slightly different perspective, but that seeing it from that slightly different perspective allows you a different angle on handling things and allows you to come up with more interesting ideas and interesting solutions to problems. But anyway, there is this ability, this gift, this power, this skill, this talent, whatever you want to call it, that you have, and you are ignoring it. And that's where you really need to make the change in your life. That business idea that you've had, act on it. The YouTube channel you've been meaning to start since forever, act on it. Whatever it is, like, I think that's the thing that you are, that's the change that you're scared of. But it's like, if you are feeling left behind, if you feel like everyone else around you is like growing up and moving on, the way to deal with that is see like, okay, well, everyone else is moving on their lives, well then I need to move on too. But you don't need to move on in the exact same way as them. Maybe your friends are all getting married. That doesn't mean that you need to get married. It might be that for you, the change that you need to take is to start that business, you know? And it could be as small as literally just building a website. Yeah. There's also like, with this Hanged Man in reverse, not Hanged Man in reverse, Hanged Man is actually upright. Sorry about that. With this Hanged Man, what I was looking at was the 10 of Cups. And this 10 of Cups in reverse, and this 3 of Cups in reverse. There is this idea, again, with the Hermit as well, of like social isolation to a certain point, and of being different from other people. It's really hammered home by the Hanged Man being in the subconscious position. It's like the root of everything here, the root perhaps of why you always feel slightly left out or left behind, is because like you see the world differently, you have a different perspective, and possibly sometimes a lot of people don't agree with that perspective and find it kind of scary, and so then you sort of get a bit isolated. But like, that unique perspective is actually something you need to utilize. And it's like once you kind of accept that, like, yeah, you know what, actually I am slightly different and I do see the world slightly differently, once you accept that in yourself, it becomes easier for other people to accept it. But there's also the fact that it's like, this could be actually this, there's like this idea that also possibly you're outgrowing a lot of the relationships around you, because like you're really starting to realize that like that you have different perhaps philosophical standpoints or moral standpoints to those that are around you, and that could be causing this sort of feeling of isolation. But obviously when you lean into that, and when you start to openly express these views and these opinions, you'll then find other like-minded people and be able to build a community that way. But then continuing on with the reading, in the immediate past we have the 4 of Cups, and the 4 of Cups is very much this idea of like being so focused on the past and on what you don't have that you don't see what's right in front of you. So you can see the man is being offered a cup, but his eyes are actually closed, and he neither sees the opportunity coming towards him nor the 3 cups that already stand in front of him. So it's very much this sort of idea of like fantasizing and being stuck in your head, and through doing that, because you're fantasizing and stuck in your head, you're not actually in the present moment, and so then you can miss out on opportunities. But this card is in the position of the immediate past, so that's the past. So it's that past that has brought you to the realization somewhat that you do actually need to change and start living more in the present. The immediate future card is the 10 of Cups in reverse. So upright, this is the card of happy families, but I don't see it being in reverse as being a bad thing. It's more this sort of idea of you have this ability or this skill, and you need to take charge of that and like actually utilize it, because it will take you places. But possibly in doing that, you might find that your life path starts to diverge and go a different way than you expected, and so you maybe have to say goodbye to a lot of the friends that you've made over time. But this isn't a bad thing. You're saying goodbye for a little while, but sometimes you have to let go of certain old relationships that don't serve you in order to let in new friendships, relationships, whatever, that are more suited to who you are now. Ones where you don't feel so much like the Hanged Man because you're all Hanged Man. Also, the other thing with the Hanged Man is, yes, like the Hanged Man is odd and different and an outsider, but he's also incredibly wise. So it is about the wisdom that comes with seeing things from a different perspective. And then moving on with the last couple of cards, for the Queen of Cups. So this is in the position of how you see yourself. So you know that you are a kind and nurturing and caring person, and you have the potential to care for other people and to create truly deep, meaningful relationships and nurture others. And there is also a possibility that you see this in yourself and you feel like other people don't see this in you. But it's important to remember that, like, sometimes what other people think of us is not really our business. But that being said, the card of how others see you at the moment is the Three of Wands, and the Three of Wands is someone considering a journey and looking out to the shore and seeing all these ships, but they haven't taken that leap of faith yet. So it's possible that the people around you already see, you know, probably your friends have told you, you do have this ability, and everyone can see you on that cliff's edge, and they're wondering, you know, when are you going to go? When is it that you're going to go out and venture out into the world and go on all these adventures and build all these ships? And then in the hopes and fears position, we have the Three of Cups in reverse. So I guess that could be seen as general anxieties around relationships with others and community and friendship. And then the hopes and fears card is the Three of Cups in reverse, which again I think just represents really anxieties and fears around friendship and community and being accepted. But again, I think a lot of the sort of issues or possible hiccups in this journey can all kind of be like mitigated by engaging with kind of like the Hermit and the Hanged Man and the Magician kind of energy. This energy of, okay, I'm different to everyone else, but that's actually okay, and I accept myself and know that I'm the only one who really knows where I'm going and how to get where I'm going. That kind of stuff. And then the last card, the outcome, is the Justice card, and I would just take that as basically meaning that the outcome is dependent on, like, it's basically you reap what you sow. If you make the changes, then your life will change for the better. But if you decide to just stay doing the same stuff, then your life will stay the same. And anyway, that's all I have left to say. But thank you for watching this video, and I will upload more soon, hopefully. And have a lovely evening.